like doing all my calculations first. Okay, when I have all my calculations handy, it makes my drafting process easy. So now we are going to calculate first before we proceed. The measurements we are working with is firstly the waist. We just need few measurements here. The waist we'll have is the waist we are working with is waist 40, waist of 40. We'll have lower waist. The lower waist of 41. Because it's close to this waist, I am going to ignore this. Okay, I'm going to ignore it. You call it lower waist or upper hip. I'm just showing you it's necessary to take note of it when cutting a skirt and a pant. When the difference between it and the waist is much, you will have to work with it for your skirt or your pant to fit in properly. But because the range is not much, I'm not going to pay too much of an attention to it. So the other measurement we need is our hip. I'm working with a hip of 50. Okay, next is hip line. Another thing is crotch depths. Then the full length of the pants. The full length. This full length ranges from whether it is a short that will be above your knee, on your knee, below your knee, 3/4, or long, whichever one you're working with. Okay, for what I'm cutting here, I might be working with a length of 18. For this one here, I'm going to show us how we are going to calculate it. I know the figure already. For me, for this hip, I work with 2.5 for front and 5 inches for back. I'm going to show you how I drive this. Okay, now for the hip line, you measure from your waist to the biggest part of your hip. You measure straight. Let me show you. If this is a human body, this is a human being. Don't mind the sketching. Okay, this is the waist. If you watch this hip, this is the hip area, right? If you watch this hip, you'll notice that this point is the widest part this way. So this is the widest part of the hip. So the hip line, I mean, is you measure from here, the waist, to here. That is the hip line I'm talking about. Okay, and for this that I'm working with, I'm going to make use of 7.5 or 8. Let's make use of 8 for the hip line. 8. I believe we understand it. So these are the measurements we are working with. So the next we are going to do is our divisions. For the waist, I will divide it by 4. Waist of 40 divided by 4 is 10 inches. This is what we are going to be cutting with. I told you we are not going to pay attention to this because it's going to give us, I think, 10.25. So like I was saying, for the crotch depth over here, I'm using 2.5 for the front I'm going to say 5 minus 2.5. So at the end of the day, the back will equally be 2.5, front 2.5, because I'm using the pattern of of the front to cut the back. So when you say 2.5 plus 2.5, it brings you back to 5. Let me quickly show off what I mean here. What I mean is this. This is how the trouser is going to come. Okay, this is the front. This is my 2.5 extension for the front. I'll curve it out like this and carry it down this way. This side will come like this. Okay, so note, from here to here is 2.5 already, right? That is the crotch extension for the front. Crotch extension for the front. Assuming this is our pants and I cut out the front, I want to explain how the 5 inches for the back will set in. How the 5 inches for the back went from 5 to 2.5. Now I'm going to use this front to cut the back. Okay, the difference between the front and the back is going to be 1, the crotch, and 2, the raising at the waist. I will explain this in the course of the tutorial, but I want to just explain this 2.5. So for the back now, you know already I said it's going to be a total of 5. The 5 is supposed to start from here. I'll extend this line to 5 inches. If I measure from here, everything is supposed to be 5 inches, but if I want to measure from here, it will be 2.5. I don't know if you understand. That means for the back, when I put the allowances, needed, the back will come like this and go this way. I don't know if you understand. So this 2.5 over here plus 2.5 will give me a total of 5 inches. So I will explain better in the course of the training, in the course of this tutorial. So let's go over to our drafting table and you see, please don't skip any of the processes. You know my tutorials are always very detailed. They're always very detailed, and if you can be obedient and follow duly, believe me, from this channel you are going to be a pro. You are going to be a pro in pattern drafting, cutting and sewing. And almost all of my tutorial, as I show the cutting and the sewing tutorial. So this is how the back will come and this is how the front will come. Are you seeing? The back is always bigger. So guys, let's all go over to the drafting table and draft using this parameter I gave us here. Don't forget. So guys, we're here on the drafting paper. Let's draft the front pants. This is the easiest tutorial you're going to see on the internet today, so do well to pay close attention, very close attention to how I'll be doing this. First, I'm going to place every measurement will start from here, the apex here. Okay, so that will be our waistline. I forgot to show us something, how to get your crotch depth. Your crotch depth is your hip divided by 4, hip divided by 4 minus 1. It works for me. So hip of 12.5 divided by 4 minus 1 is giving me 11.5. So I'll place 11.5 over here. I'll place the same 11.5 over here. And remember I said the length we are working with is 18. Okay, let me make use of, to avoid wasting my pattern paper, let me work with a length of 22. I want to keep this pattern paper, I'll be using it subsequently. 22. as our short length. So next is to make an extension. The hip line we are working with is 8. Hip line of 8 inches. 8 inches. We'll connect the 2 points. Can you see? So I'm going to label it hip line. I'll use CR for crotch depth, and this is our full length. So the next thing I'm going to place is this. Our hip, the hip we are working with is 12.5, right? Hip of 12.5. I'm going to place 0.5 on the hip line, 12.5 on the crotch. Here is our waistline. I equally place 12.5 on the waistline. Using my rule, I'll connect all the points. Short is one of the easiest things to draft. So remember, our front crotch extension is 2.5. This is 2.5. Okay, I'll come up here 2 by 2.5. I'll come out here by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect using my curve rule such a way that it touches this, this, and this. Watch. Sorry. Can we see that? Okay, so the next is to measure the whole of this. 1, 2, I'm having 15.5 in all. I'm going to divide the 15.5 into 2. Getting the midpoint, I'm dividing it into 2. And this is the mid. Down here at the full length, I will equally place the mid, and I'm going to connect it using my straight rule. Okay, trouser cutting is the easiest. We're almost done with the front drafting. Now down to here, the full length, there are so many ways it can come. The first question you have to ask yourself at this point is, the short you're making, is it an open leg kind of short? Maybe I'll try putting images to show you what I mean. Some can be open. Will it be fitted? If it is fitted, you want it very tight. If it's going to be open, how open would you want it? That is what you're going to determine here. That will determine how you're going to be drafting this point. Okay, I'm having 21. If it was meant to be fitted, okay, I'm going to draft it fitted with the 21. But I'm trying to tell you that you can alter this to fit in to any kind of shot you're making. Now, what I got by dividing it, by running the tape around that part of my leg, is 21. I'll say 21 divided by 2. 21 divided by 2 is giving me 10.5. Okay, Now the 10.5 is meant to be for this front as a whole. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'll divide this 10.5 into 2. 10.5 divided into 2, and I'm getting 5.25. So what I got, I'll place it here. Sorry, I'll place it here, and 5.25 here. Can you see? Half here, half here, such a way that when you measure everything you have here, I am having the 10.5 inches. Do we understand? So this is it over here, here and here. Okay, one more place for us to work on, then we will connect, and that is on the waist. If you're drafting a pant that will be having an elastic, you will leave the waistline like this. That's, what we placed here is our hip divided by 4. If it is going to have an elastic, it is okay this way. But if it will not be having an elastic, you will work with your exact waist measurement. Remember, our waist divided by 4 gave us 10. So to get the 10, you start from here, you measure backward. Remember, when we are placing our hip, we came this way, but for the waist we are coming from here backward. And see what you have. This is 10 inches. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now is to bring our hip off and start making our connections. I'm going to connect from here to the hip. Okay, watch how I am placing my hip curve rule. Can you see the connection? Now see my hip curve. You saw how I placed it to get this one. I'm going to connect this one to here by reversing this like this. Please, all these curves, you have to use it the right way to get the right results. And I will connect. Then over here, I'll place it like this and connect. And we are done with the front drafting. Okay, we are done with drafting of the front. We are done with the drafting of the front. Some persons would rather go this way. See, it's good to study your body shape. It's good to study your body shape. This measurement is mine. I have lap. My lap is big. Some persons has a big hip. They have a tinier kind of lap. You need to study your client's kind of measurements to know how to properly draft out their outfit. Okay, there is a client I have. If this trouser was hers, instead of placing this curve rule like this, I would place it like this. I'll place it like this. I'll remove these small excesses, and see, this small thing I removed here does wonders for her. It makes her outfit to fit properly well. And because I have more flesh at this part of my body, if I remove this, I used to have difficulty fitting my trousers. So you need to understand your body, and that will guide you to always draft. Now when you're taking a measurement for a pant, you normally take the lap measurement, and if you notice, I didn't mention lap. The lap can be gotten here. 1 inch after the crouch depth is where your lap measurement is meant to be. So when you're done drafting your trouser this way, you can come down by 1 inch from here and measure to make sure your lap measurement falls into it. Make sure it's taking your lap. Can you see? It's taking my lap measurement, which is 14.5. See my lap where it will end. I still have an allowance, meaning it's okay. If my lap didn't enter here, what I would have done is to extend this further. I'm going to drop a tutorial. On how to calculate your crouch extension. See, if you can overcome this in trouser cutting, drafting, you're good to go. This is the major problem why your trouser is not fitting well. Is either bogus, is folding somewhere, and all of that. I'm going to show us parameters, how to avoid it. Okay, I'll make a tutorial on this, but let's not prolong this very tutorial. So this is it for the front panel. I'm going to cut out the front like I was telling us in our trouser length. With this pattern now, if I want to work with a long trouser, I'm going to place this pattern, then on my fabric I will extend the length. If I want it to be shorter, I can make it shorter. Do you understand? This pattern particularly will serve for different purposes. If I want to convert this to a palazzo pants doesn't come this way. If this was to be a palazzo pants, from here I'm going to take it straight. I'm going to determine how open I want here to be, and I'll just connect it straight using a straight rule. Palazzo. So from this is a cigarette kind of pant. This kind of pant is called cigarette pants. We have different types of pants, cigarettes. We have a palazzo, we have bell bottom, we have so many kind of pants. Maybe with time we'll keep talking about pants. I'll keep showing tutorials about pants. I believe we know it, there might be no need. Okay, so this is what we are having for now. There is one more thing we are going to do to the front and we are done with it, then we'll cut, and that is at this part of the front we are going to come down by 1/2 inch. I'm coming down here by 1/2, then I will connect it upwards this way. Okay, cut this out. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show us something after cutting this out, because this part is going to have a band, or should I just show us now? It's going to have a band, and that band is going to be 2 inches wide, which means I'm going to remove 2 inches from here. That will be serving as our band. I want to attach the band. Now if you want to just fold over, you want to just fold it, you can leave it this way, but I'll be attaching a band, so I'm going to remove 2 inches here. If I remove 2 inches, it means I'll still add 1/2 inch for joining. You understand? I'll still have 1/2 inch for joining. If I don't want to add 1/2 inch for joining, I would rather remove 1.5. That means I've added 1/2 inch for joining, but when cutting the band, I'm going to cut the band as 2 inches. So let me just do that. Let me just mark it out, but I won't be cutting it out now till we are done drafting the front. This is 1.5. 1.5. So this is it. I'm going to cut this out. I like labeling it. This is my center front, CF. This is my side front. This is down for D, UP, up. I like labeling it. I'll use it to cut out my band. So let's cut out the parts. Please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, like, comment and share. So this is the front. And we are going to use the front to draft the back. We are going to use the front to draft the back. Everything is going to be the same. Remember, I've not cut out the band. Everything is going to be the same, but we are going to make an extension here. The first thing is to extend this line. Okay. Extend the waistline. Remember, we removed half of an inch. I'm adding it back. The waistline is extended. I will extend this other line. Okay. Now, I told us for the back, I'm using 5 coming from here. Coming from here is 5 inches, which is this. But when it comes from here, it's 2.5. Now, some persons do add allowances over here. Okay, they add extra allowances over here. There are cases where you have to. There are cases where you add to both the front and the back. Some persons just leave the back front this way and add all the allowances at the back. It's totally dependent on you. Okay, but see how we are going to. Okay, hold on. Then up here, I'm going to extend this by 2. I'm going to extend here by 2. This is already 2 inches. What I have here is 2 inches. Okay, I will equally extend this hip line. I'll extend the hip line. So on the hip line, I'm going to add 2 inches here. 2 inches. On the waist, I'm going to add 1.5. Okay. Now, I'm going to connect this. Let me use broken lines. Then I'll connect this. See, if you use my method, your trouser must sit well. Must sit well. No folding anywhere. It must sit well. So this is what we are having now. See, from this 2 inches raise, I'm connecting it back to this point. 2 inches raise. Now, again, the kind of, there's a difference between having a hip and having a big butt. Some people have a bigger hip, some have a bigger butt. You need to pay attention to all of this. Hip and butt. I don't have a bigger kind of butt. I have more of hip, which is the reason why during my front drafting I told you I don't do this. If I had a bigger kind of butt, I would have raised by 2.5 or 3 inches depending on how big the butt is. Okay, then if you're on a small size, you can raise by 1.5. 1.5 would always be perfect. Please, all these points are necessary. Now to this part, I'm going to add 2 inches allowances. I'm going to add 2 inches. Then I'm going to use this to connect it to the 2 inches. This must be 100% clear. Drafting of a trouser is simple, very simple. So we are going to cut right now, and we'll be left with cutting out our band. This oh, I forgot something. What did I forget? The dart allowance. I forgot that. If it was going to have a dart on the waist, if I'm going to hold the waist, I'm supposed to shift out my hand here by 1 inch. Okay, I'll still show you. Only let's assume it's going to have a dart only at the back. I can't do it again in the front because I've cut it out. I can't do it again in the front because I have cut it out. But we can do something in the front. So let me remove this back. I've traced it out. If it is going to have a dart, that means you will have to replace the dart. And mostly our dart is 1 inch, meaning here I'll add 1 inch to the waist. I will connect back to the hip. Then I'll change this line like so. Are you seeing that? If it's going to have an allowance. So we are assuming this allowance will come here in the back only, not the front. Then you place your dart leg. My dart leg normally is 4.5. I'll take ½ inch on both sides. This is 4.5. Now you will determine how long you want your dart to be. Let's say 4.5, it will end here. You took ½ inch on both sides. This is half, which made it 1. That is the one we replaced here. This. Is that understood? So that is when it will be having a dart. Most trousers these days doesn't even have a dart, especially if you're working with a stretchy material. Please, this one that I'm cutting won't be having a dart. We are using it. We are going to use this pattern to cut a flay trouser. I'm not going to work without darts I have over there. Whenever I want to use the pattern with a dart, I will make the extension on my fabric. I said it won't be having a dart, so I'm cutting from here. So this is it. Front and back. Front and back ready. Is that okay? Now we can now cut out this, the front band 1.5. Then for the back, come down here by 1.5. Connects. Label it. Center back. Side back. CB. Down. Up. Then I'll cut. I'm keeping this. I'll be using it to cut out my bands, but it will come in 2 inches. So this is the front and back part of my trouser, fully drafted. In my next tutorial, I'll be using this pattern to cut out a pant on my fabric and show you the sewing tutorial. Thank you for watching to this point. Love you.